This is the Ashby Canal at a place called Moira in Leicestershire, and it was the venue for a gathering of trail boats organised by the Inland Waterways Association. The event was part of the Moira Canal Festival, which aims to raise money for the restoration and maintenance of the Ashby Canal. And to make it a day out for all the family, there were stalls of all kinds, ice creams, face painting, and some classic cars too. The Ashby Canal route runs from a terminus basin in Moira down to a junction with the Coventry Canal near Bedworth. But subsidence in the early 1900s led to part of the canal being closed, which means the stretch at Moira is unconnected to the rest of the network. Now local enthusiasts are trying to restore the missing link.
Well, the aim is to restore canal which was systematically closed from here in Moira through to Snareston, piece by piece due to mining subsidence. Ironically, the canal was built mainly for transport of coal from the local mines in the Ashby Wells coalfield, and as other means of transport became available, the mine owners got greedy and mined under the canal, causing subsidence, which caused it to be progressively closed. We do have an advantage which other canal restoration groups envy us for, because the Ashby Canal, from where it joins the main network at Marston Jabbot, the Coventry Canal, through to here in Moira, never had any locks, and we don't have to build any locks, and that is quite a bonus.
Worthy though the rebuilding is, I was really here for the trail boats. In other words, boats small enough that you can pop them on a trailer behind a car and tow them to a new location. As you can see, they're short boats, up to about 30 feet long, and they all fit the standard narrow canal beam of 6 feet 10 inches. So, what did we have? First of all, and just the one which was a surprise, it's an aluminium sea otter. Aluminium, of course, doesn't rust in water, which is a huge benefit, but the boats were, and still are, very expensive compared to steel. Unfortunately, Sea Otter went out of business about a decade ago, but you still see a lot of these around, and they are such cute boats. I definitely have one. Moored alongside was an example of my other favourite tiny boat, the Wilderness Beaver, about which I made a video 3 years ago, and I've left a link to that in the description below. This one had no one aboard, so I couldn't peek in properly, but through the window I spotted this superb model of the boat. The Beaver was developed from an earlier model called the Water Rat Gypsy, a similar style, also powered by a small outboard motor, but more bluff in its profile, with a smaller rear deck and a rather abrupt bow. Contrast that with the curved lines of the Beaver we just saw. And next in line was a Cara boat. Very rare, these are a combined caravan and boat that has wheels on the hull, so you don't even need a trailer. It just comes out of the water, up the slipway on wheels, and you drive it off like a caravan. There's an even more rare model called the Cara Cruiser, which is similar but does need to go on a trailer on the road. There wasn't one of those here, unfortunately. If you've got good reading glasses and are willing to press pause on the video, here's some info about the Cara boat. The rest of the mooring lineup was more beavers, but hang on, don't these two look familiar? Yes, they're a pair that featured in my video 3 years ago, including the original designer's own Beaver Cub model, which is just 17 feet long compared to the standard Beaver's 23. It's a cub I'd really like to get my hands on, but they only made 7 of them. Let's hop back to Andante, which was painted blue when I last saw it, and have a look around. These are largely flat-bottomed boats, drawing less than a foot of water, so they really can go pretty much anywhere. This one's practically a speedboat now, with a 20 horsepower engine. The rear deck is spacious with seating and storage. Inside you get 2 bunks at the back, then a galley opposite a toilet and shower, with more seating and berths at the bow. The rear berths extend under the outside rear deck. There's the galley with a full LPG hob, grill and oven. And the owners have added this large 12-volt compressor fridge. There's a toilet, shower and a hand basin in there. And at the front, the bench seats can be used as 2 more berths, or a huge double. There's even a little space to sit out in the sun, which on this occasion affords a lovely view of the beaver cub. While I was browsing, a beaver went past, which prompted my hosts, Jackson and Ruth Kedwood, to offer me a quick trip on, believe it or not, an even smaller boat they had alongside, which they jokingly refer to as the tender for Andante. So Jackson untied us and fired up the diminutive outboard, and we headed off on this gorgeous day for a trip all of a few hundred yards along the parade of moored trail boats. Look, you can just see the Caraboat's wheel arches. Coming up here is another Water Rat Gypsy. The original Water Rats had an apex roof, whereas this later Gypsy version is curved. Note the smaller back deck than the Beavers. And the final 2 here, the one at the end being one of the last built before original production stopped, though it has since been restarted by another company, so if you want a brand new Wilderness Beaver, they are being made. Meanwhile, we carried on and turned around in Jackson's tiny Mayland, taking another pass along the line. We could not have asked for a nicer day. It was splendid. The train noise, by the way, was a miniature steam railway running alongside the canal. The Wilderness boats garner much love wherever they go, especially from their owners who tend to keep them for a long time.
We've had ours for 36 years. They were designed by Ian to be family friendly, and our family grew up on them on holidays, etc. From our daughter being just under 2 years old when we bought it. They're very spacious inside. The massive advantage for us was that we could tow it and reach other places that we weren't able to reach in the available time. We had ours in France for 17 summers out of 20. You don't steer them like you would an ordinary boat with some sort of V hull, in that you basically have to, in my opinion anyway, you have to persuade it to go where you want it to go and allow for the wind, etc. But it's never been a major problem.
Here's a better look at that Water Rat Gypsy. It's a bit like a floating summer house. This one was built around 1970 to 72-ish and was first used as a hire boat on the River Thames. I particularly enjoyed the use of old glue canisters as mooring pin flags, alerting passers-by not to trip over them. On board the boat called Nipper, with the picture of the dog on the nameplate, we find not Nipper, but his successor. The layout on all the beavers can vary a bit. Here, for example, is a bunk bed arrangement on the left, with the shower and toilet room opposite. That leaves space for a galley on both sides of the boat. And then at the bow, the usual arrangement of seats, which can turn into berths or dinettes. Imagine sitting here and just gazing out at the canal views. Elsewhere at the Canal Festival were kayaks, which you could have a go in. There were also more classic cars like these MGs. And even some camper vans. There was traditional English Morris dancing. And this fantastic model steam engine layout. Plus, if you wanted to get on the water and see some of the canal, the local trip boat was doing short excursions. I assume there'll probably be another trailboat gathering next year, so keep an eye on the IWA website for updates. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.